Hello, my name is Sally. I am one of the makeup artists working with Look Fabulous Forever, which is skincare, hair care and makeup specifically designed for older faces. Today I want to talk to you about brushes, makeup brushes, and I want to talk you through the different makeup brushes that Look Fabulous Forever produces and how to use them best and how to use which brush to use for which product, because it can get a little bit confusing and I often get asked, I'm not sure which brush to use, should I use a bigger one, smaller one, etc. So hopefully today I will answer some of your questions on brushes. So what I have done already is I have prepared my skin. I have used my SPF 50+ serum and my Smoother Day cream. And that's all I've done. So I've got no makeup on. So I'm going to go through and apply my makeup using the brushes and talking you through how to use them and what brushes to use. So let's get ready and let's get going. So the first product that I'm going to use is our Smooth Light Silk Face Prime, this product which I always use before foundation. This is the one product that you can very easily apply with fingers. So I am going to take just a couple of pumps and I am going to put this on with clean fingers. This is a brilliant product just for preparing the skin for any kind of foundation. It just does exactly what it says. It smooths it out. It will fill in any open pores, any fine lines. So I'm now going to apply my foundation. Some ladies like to use fingers. I must say that I always find I get a better look when I use a foundation brush. And I'm going to use a mixture today. I'm going to use Continuous Cover Foundation in shade 2, mixed with a little bit of Light Look Beauty Balm in shade 0.5. And whenever I use my foundation, I also like to add a tiny bit extra primer as well. So let me talk you through the two foundation brushes that we have. So there's this brush, which is brush number 10. And I think you can see it's quite a sort of dense brush. The bristles are really, really soft, but they're quite well sort of packed in. So this is good if you want a really airbrushed effect and you are using your Continuous Cover Foundation. I think this is a really good brush to use for reasonably good coverage, but it just allows you to buff the product in really well. We do another foundation brush, which as you can see has got a little bit more of a shape to it. So this is our brush number 3. And this is slightly less dense in terms of bristles. So it gives you a slightly lighter look. And also it allows you, because it's slightly angled, you can get into the nooks and crannies with it. So I personally usually use this one because I want that really sort of slightly denser brush. But if you just want a lighter look, the other reason for using, I quite like also using this one with my bronzer as a little bit of a contouring brush. So you could use that for that as well. But these are the two foundation brushes, either or. Today I'm going to use this one because I want a really airbrushed look and I'm using the Continuous Cover Foundation, so it's got a little bit more cover to it. Only using a tiny bit of foundation. And then I'm going to add in my Light Look Beauty Balm and then a tiny little bit of primer, just a squirt of primer. So I've made a sort of my own personalized, tailored coverage in terms of color and in terms of how much texture I want and how thick. And now I'm going to use my brush and just mix them, literally mix them together. So what I like to do with this brush, I actually hold it on the silver bit. Whereas if I use the other brush, if I were to use this brush, I quite like to hold it at the bristles if I'm using it for foundation, because I like to make it a little bit tighter. So that's just the way I do it. This one is, I find it harder to do this one holding it actually on the handle. This one you can. And I'm putting it on in the same direction as the very fine, I've got sort of fine hairs. So with foundation, I'm doing it in a slightly down and outwards from the center, and you can just build up with a brush really easily. That's what's so good about having a foundation brush. If you've never tried a foundation brush, it's a bit of a game changer. The brush allows you to get right into those sort of nooks and crannies as well. And if you've got the right colour, you shouldn't need to have to go down the neck with the brush. You should just literally to the jawline. What I like to do now is to apply concealer. So with concealer, we have a fantastic brush, which is, funnily enough, called a concealer brush. So it's our brush number 4, which is this one, it's quite a flat brush. And again, it's quite firm, because with concealer, you want to be able to basically stipple in product. So I'm going to take my Cover to Cover concealer in shade number 2. And I'm just going to take some up onto my brush. And you can see where my dark circles are. So I've got some darkness around my inside of my nose here and here. The beauty of this brush is being able to stipple. Because it's quite firm, you can stipple it on. I've got some broken capillaries around my nose area, so I find that this brush is really good for that. I've got the odd little tiny area, so I've got a little spot here today. Lovely. So I'm using the smaller brush to do that. So just literally dab it on and it's gone. Magic. I need to set my concealer now. There are 2 brushes that I can use to do that. If I'm sweeping a large area, then I would definitely use my lovely big powder brush number 1. This is one of my favourite brushes. It's so soft and lovely, and good for sort of larger applications of powder, and it stops your powder being cakey because of the type of bristles it's got. You don't want any cakiness on an older face with powder, so this brush is brilliant for that. So I'm going to take my translucent powder, and I'm going to use a little bit on the brush and just sweep it over. And it will just give, I like to also put a bit of powder on my neck area, ready for if I'm going to put some bronzer on. It just stops it grabbing to any moisturiser that I might have. If you have put concealer in smaller places, then I would highly recommend this brush. This is the blender brush, the eyeshadow blender brush number 7. So you can basically just apply in a slightly more precise way powder, and you can always dust off the excess just with the big brush. So the first product that I always use before I do my eye makeup is I use my Smooth Out Eye Prime, which keeps on eyeshadow and stops it from basically going into little lines and moving. And it also gets rid of all the little broken veins on my eyelids so that they are really, really clean and ready and all even before I put my eyeshadow on, so that the eyeshadow goes on true and stays on. So you don't need very much of this product. And again, you can apply it with fingers, and lots of ladies do. You don't need much. As I said, tiny amount. Make sure if you're going to put it on with fingers that your fingers are completely oil-free, and that your eyelids are dry and oil-free as well. So you can either just pop it on with your finger, or what you can do is take your concealer brush and literally pop it on with that. All right, so while I'm in the mood for putting on primer, I always then just, because it's a good time to remember, I apply my Never Feather Lip Prime. And you can actually apply this with the wand. Blend it. You're only putting it on the outer edge of your lips. You're creating a bit of a seal so that your lipstick stops feathering and bleeding. I am a great believer in brushes for putting on eyeshadow. Makeup artists have hundreds of brushes. We really do. I have got so many brushes that I use, and brushes are our tools. You can be your own makeup artist if you have the right tools and the right brushes. And particularly, I feel eyes, it's something that if you're just using a little sponge applicator that you might have, it won't go on in quite the same way, or if you just try and smudge it on with your fingers. So we have some amazingly good brushes for eyes at Look Fabulous Forever. The first is the one I've already shown you. So this is our brush number 7. So this is the one that I used also for my powder. But this is brilliant for putting on larger areas of eyeshadow and for blending when you go for maybe a darker colour. So I'm going to go for something very simple today, and I'm going to use one of our matte shades in rose gold. This is a very nice neutral colour, and I'm going to apply it all over my lid with this brush. Again, if you've not tried a brush for application, you will find it is a bit of a game changer and makes it much easier to look professional. So I'm just bringing it all over the lid. The beauty of these brushes are they are soft. They are very, very gentle on older and sometimes more sensitive eyes as we get older. You don't want anything scratchy or hard. And they allow you to build up the colour. If you just want one little light sweep of colour, that's fine. If you want it to be a little bit stronger, you can just build up from the eyeshadow. So this is just a very natural, it's called rose gold, and you can see it's not very different from my natural lid colour, but it will create a nice little base. One of my new favourite brushes is brush number 9. So this is a smaller eyeshadow brush, and I think it's essential if you are going to apply a darker colour in the sort of socket line or crease area. Because it's smaller and firmer, it allows you to be more precise in actually applying a second colour. So I'm going to apply a colour called Dark Taupe, this one, to give my eyes a little bit of shape, a little bit of extra colour. And I'm going to put on with this brush number 9. So because it's a little bit smaller, as you can see, I can be more precise. So I'm bringing this colour just sort of in the crease and just above to create a slightly more lifted eye look. It will give me a sort of a slightly full socket line. I sometimes call it the number 7 shape because it's a little bit like a number 7. But this brush allows me to put it on quite precisely in a slightly sharp, looks a little bit weird at this stage because I haven't blended it. But because it's quite small, I can do it very easily with this brush. You can see I'm doing this with my eyes slightly open because so you can just about see the colour when my eye is still open so that it lifts the eye. The brush that I used earlier, this is brush number 7 again. So this is the blender brush. And all I'm going to do now with this brush is to very kind of little short strokes, quite soft strokes, blend one colour to melt into another. And I'm going sort of out to in so that I'm not dragging it down my face. And that will just, you can do it in a slightly swirly motion if you want, a bit like a windscreen wiper if that helps to remind you how to do it. So you're just taking off the edges with this brush. And again, it's very gentle. So really, really nice to use on older eyes, but very effective. This is our Sheer Brilliance Lid Colour. If you want to add a little bit of this, it's got a wand. So if you wanted that little bit of light in the centre of your eye, I'm just going to show you what you can do. Just take the wand. What I'm doing, I don't know if you can see that, just a little tiny bit of light. But this also needs a bit of blending. And I quite like to blend that either with, well, you can use your fingers, but I again prefer to use that small brush which is brush number 5. So this is a product that you can just blend very slightly. It's quite sticky, so you blend it and then it will dry. But this is a good brush to do that with. It's really small and precise. So I'm now going to do a little bit of eyeliner. So I'm going to use one of our soft eyeliners, soft eyeliner in dark brown. So I'm just going to apply this directly to the eye. So what this will do is it will help my lashes to look a little bit thicker, and they are so beautifully soft, they literally glide on. So you don't have to be really precise with these, they'll just work. I then bring the bottom up to meet the top. You want everything to be slightly lifted at the outer edge. With an older eye, you don't want anything to come down too much. So probably my second all-time favourite brush in the range is brush number 8. This is the wedge brush, and I want to show you this because if you find eyeliner just very scary, and you've got a slightly wobbly line and you just find that the whole thing too much, you can use this instead of an eyeliner, or you can do what I do and you can use it on top of the eyeliner. So this is a very thin brush, but it's quite firm, and you can see it is wedged. What I'm going to do is to take my dark taupe, again, this eyeshadow, and I'm going to take some up onto the wedge brush. Just take off the excess on the hand so that there's not too much on it, so it's just on that very fine edge. And then what you can do is use this as an eyeliner to just press the eyeshadow into the base of your lashes with the pointy bit on the outside. I like to go out to in. So this, if you've got the eyeliner on, this will actually soften the effect of the eyeliner and set it because you're putting a powder on. If you haven't got the eyeliner on, you can just use this with a dark shadow. So either the dark taupe, or you could use one of the darker ones like charcoal or chocolate or aubergine, or forest green or midnight blue, and just create the effect of eyeliner without using a pencil. So I'm going to use my Lide Lash mascara in black waterproof. So just going to wiggle that and coat my eyelashes. You can see I'm slightly blinking onto the wand, which allows me to get right into the base of the lashes and to the end without it going everywhere. So I need to do my brows now. Before that, I'm going to use a little bit of Instant Bright Highlight, this one, which I'm going to apply just underneath my brows. So I like to apply this with the inbuilt pen under the highest part. Then I go back in with my concealer brush. Very handy, this brush, just to literally smooth that out. You can see that's just made a nice light brightness underneath my brow. Okay, a very important brush if you need help with your brows is our brush number 6. This is also called a spoolie brush, and you can bend it, so you can get it into it's got a little wire on it, so you can groom your brows. Often as we get older, our brows become a little bit unruly, so just even grooming them can make a big difference to the way they look. And if you're going to use Bring Back Brow, which is Bring Back Brow Shape, this is this product, the spoolie brush is an essential item that you need in your kit. So Bring Back Brow Shape in Blonde I'm using today, giving it a shake. And this is a paint, a brow filleriner. Is that a word? But it's a paint and it's waterproof. So what I'm going to do is just literally fill any gaps with little small feathery strokes. And it just allows me just to lengthen my brows to the correct area, because I've lost a little bit on the end of my brow. And I'm going upwards and just filling in the gaps. Now, go back with your lovely spoolie brush, this one, and soften it. And you'll find that the brows just look so natural. Now, I need a bit of colour on my face. If you are cool in colouring, but you want to add a bit of bronzer, now is a really good time to do it. So, what brushes? How do I use a bronzer brush? What do I do? You can do two things. You can either use the brush that I mentioned before, which is the foundation brush really, but you can use this a little bit for contouring because of the shape. Or you can go back and use the big, lovely powder brush, this one, for a bit of a sweep of bronzer. So I'll show you both. Big powder brush, boom, 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 a little bit up here. Sort of in a three shape. I find the big brush is quite good for the neck area. I like to use a little bit of bronzer sometimes in my neck area. Just gives you that little sweep of colour. Or you can use the brush that I mentioned before, which is brush number 3. If you've got this one, again, it's quite good. Just for a bit of contouring. Just sort of on that little bit on the jawline as well. It's a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit more precise. So I'm just using this one, which is our Summer Enduring Bronze. It's only one shade, and it looks scary. It doesn't come out that colour at all. Just can give you that little bit of natural warmth. So that's if you're cooler, bronzer, then blusher. If you're warmer, I sometimes put a bit of bronzer on top of my blusher, but we're going to do blusher now. So blusher, do you use fingers? What brush do you use? A lot of you ladies think they have to use a big fat brush for blusher, like this one. This is the powder brush. I think personally, it's a little bit too big and you can't put it on precisely. I'm going to use peach cream today with my fingers, and then I like to use our brush number 2, which is the blusher brush. And you can see what size that is. It's a good size for blusher. It's not too big like the powder brush would be. So let's just take a little bit of blusher and just sweep it on with my finger. Then I like to take my blusher brush, this one, and this is the brush which I like to definitely hold as well as that contouring brush. I like to hold this at the bristles and sweep upwards so that I'm in control of it rather than waving it in a willy-nilly sort of fashion. So slightly upwards, slight circular motion. So lips. Again, one of those things that if you're in a hurry, you might not want to use a brush, but if you want your lips to look really professional, using a lip brush does make a big difference, as does using a lip liner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Defining Lip Liner in Roseberry, one of my favourites. So this is a very lovely soft lip liner. So when I really want my lips to look professional, to stay on well, to look as though I've really taken the time, I will use a lip brush. So we're going back with brush number 5, which is the brush that I used for small, tiny things, but it's brilliant for lipstick. So I'm going to use my one of my favorites, which is True Coral. This one, which hopefully will go with what I'm wearing today. And I'm going to take some up onto my brush and then fill in. I am a bit of a lip gloss girl, so I love to use Gorgeous Gloss Lip Shine. I like Cinnamon Kiss just in the centre, but if I was to use the clear gloss, I don't want my clear gloss to get contaminated on my lipstick. So what I do there is I take the clear gloss out, put it on my hand, and then I actually take my lip brush, again, number 5. I just clean off the lipstick and take my brush number 5, take up the clear gloss and put it onto my lips, so that I'm not basically putting the applicator onto lips and then putting it back into the clear one, because then the clear one will change colour. So if you want your clear one to stay clear, apply it with the lip brush number 5. So I hope that that has helped you with brushes. Really, really a game changer in the way that your makeup goes on, the speed in which it takes to put your makeup on. If you've got good brushes, it actually makes everything much quicker. Blending of eyes, getting your foundation to look airbrushed and really, really natural and well buffed in is for me, brushes every time. Really important to look after your brushes. If you buy a set of brushes and look after them, they will last you for years and years. I've got brushes that I've had for 30 years that are absolutely fine. So make sure that you do look after them, that you clean them. We do a really good makeup brush cleaner, which is a soap. It's really, really nice to use and it smells divine. A little top tip when you're cleaning your brushes is to not get the wooden handle and the metal bit wet. So basically, and not to, when you are cleaning the bristles also, particularly of maybe your blender brush, don't splay them out in the brush soap. So wet the brush, dip it in, but sort of do it like that rather than splaying them outwards to protect them. Keeping this dry, and when you dry them, if you dry them vertically, sometimes this gets wet and then sometimes you might find eventually the glue will sort of come away. So it's much better when you dry them to maybe dry them basically horizontally over the edge of a counter of a table, so that you don't get any water on this area. Just let them dry naturally, sort of air dry them. So if you've not tried brushes, really give them a go and let me know. I'd love to know your comments on whether you've used, whether your makeup looks different now you're using brushes. Maybe what's your favourite brush? We'd love to hear what your favourite brush in the Look Fabulous Forever range is. Any top tips with your brushes. So thank you so much for watching today, and enjoy playing and using your brushes to make yourself look fabulous. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.